Welcome to Issues and Answers with Diane Kinderwater. Issues and Answers is presented as a public service to inform, educate, and better the lives of New Mexicans. And now, Issues and Answers with your host, Diane Kinderwater.
Welcome to the program. I'm Diane Kinderwater. I do have a treat for you today. Oftentimes we do on Issues and Answers have a treat, but I have a fifth-generation cattle rancher in the studio visiting with me regarding northern New Mexico and keeping farmers and ranchers on the land. How has that changed? I mean, he's fifth generation. Through the generations, is it improving? Are they staying there? Or are they leaving? My guest today is Manny Encinias. He is the executive director of the Santa Fe Farmers Market Institute. We're going to find out what the Institute does, how it supports the Santa Fe Farmers Market, which I'm sure you have enjoyed. I know I certainly have. But we're going to talk about the work mainly of keeping farmers and ranchers on the land in northern New Mexico. He says he has some great stories and some very fun anecdotes about what's going on in farm life. We'll be back with Manny Encinias right after this. Stay with us. Okay, I asked, he's got a cowboy hat, but I asked my guest, are you a real cowboy? Manny Encinias, you are a real cowboy. Fifth generation cowboy here in New Mexico. Welcome to the program. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me today.
You've been with the Farmers Market Institute for 2 years. We're certainly going to talk about that. But first, I want to talk about you and farming and ranching and your family. Tell us the history of the Encinias family in northern New Mexico.
I'm truly blessed to always share my story of being on the land. My family's been in central New Mexico since 1777. We've been heavily involved in being stewards of the land in various capacities. A lot of our agricultural roots actually started as sheep herders in the Galisteo Basin. My great-grandfather was a mayordomo who was kind of oversaw a lot of the sheep camps for the Jose Ortiz y Pino family. We evolved into the cattle business in the early 1900s. And, you know, we have grown to not just be cattle ranchers, but become heavily involved in developing local food systems utilizing our beef. So I raised the sixth generation of ranchers in New Mexico. I have 6 daughters and 1 son, and we live on the Buffalo Creek Ranch just south and west of Moriarty, New Mexico.
Southwest of Moriarty.
Yes, ma'am.
So they're going to be the 6th generation.
They're the 6th generation, truly blessed. They've embraced the opportunity to be not just the next generation of stewards of the land for our family, but also in playing a more integral role of bringing local food to consumers in New Mexico.
Keeping it here, not necessarily. We've exported some of it. We're going to talk about that, of course, especially about northern New Mexico. But your family, that's fascinating. How many heads of cattle do you raise?
We run just shy of 200 mother cows, and you know, everything in our operation is conceived, born, raised, and then harvested right off the ranch. So we use a USDA facility 15 minutes from the ranch. Then they do a lot of our harvesting of our cattle for beef purposes. So we're truly nicely situated in central New Mexico, 60 miles from Santa Fe, 50 miles from Albuquerque, where it's easy to get our animals into a consumer's mouth and plate.
Is that grass-fed cattle, beef?
Everything is pasture raised, right? And I'm a PhD animal nutritionist, so it's all about the welfare, and we're making sure that animals in our drought environment get all the necessary types of feed and supplements to thrive.
You have a PhD. Where is that from?
My PhD is from North Dakota State University in Fargo, North Dakota.
And what's that in?
That's in animal nutrition, specifically on ruminant animals, which are cattle, sheep, and goats. But the majority of my emphasis is primarily on cattle.
You went to high school here in Moriarty. Tell me a little bit about that and where you went to undergrad school.
Yeah, I went to high school in Moriarty High School. I graduated in 1992. It doesn't seem like that long ago. And then I went on to New Mexico State University, where I got a bachelor's degree in animal science and a master's degree in reproductive physiology.
You thought you had to go on to get your PhD.
Yeah, you know, again, I think that's the amazing part about it. When you go on, you leave home and you go to, you think you know what you're going to do. you're immersed in education, you're immersed with passionate professors and mentors. They, again, if you have a hard work ethic and some desire and some passions, they realize that opportunity and they open doors for you. And I'm always going to be truly blessed to those mentors who gave me a chance as a first-generation college student to seek out an opportunity and to fulfill my passion that would allow me to get back on the land someday, like we're doing right now.
So you're first generation college student in your family's fifth generation farmers ranchers.
Mm-hmm.
So when you grew up, going to Moriarty High School, did you think, Manny, that you're going to be a rancher? Is that what you thought? I mean, that you're going to follow the continuation of your family business?
My passion was always, I was always amazed just with the stewardship of my grandfather. He was in his 80s when I was a teenager, but he was always a very quiet man that again, the animals responded very, very amazing to. They responded to his kindness and to how quiet he was. My grandfather raised a bunch of cowboys. Right?
How many?
He had 12 children. And I always was just always so fond of that. And as you kind of grow, you say, you love it. We loved to rodeo when we were young. Always loved to be horseback. But then you kind of go through those middle school years, and you're starting to say get more active in school activities, kind of lose a little bit of interest. But as I got into high school and the question started being asked to me, what are you going to do when you grow up? The simplest thing found me going towards being a large animal veterinarian.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Now in high school and middle school, were you of course you were in the rodeo, rode horseback. Any high school sports that you participated in?
I was an all-around athlete. I played football, basketball, and ran track and played baseball. So my life in middle school and high school was a lot of athletics, and I had a lot of great mentors again that just shaped me with hard work ethic and a desire to go a little bit harder, a little bit faster, and again I think that was really instrumental in kind of getting me through college and kind of getting me because they kind of just always said, don't ever be satisfied with where you're at. Continue to keep your eyes above the horizon and keep pushing forward. And I think that's where I find myself in my career today is opportunities to continue looking for ways to help the people of the state of New Mexico.
But that's interesting. You were in high school, and I imagine, I'm not sure about Moriarty High School, but perhaps a lot of your classmates weren't farmers and ranchers, and for you to come back to the land in this generation, sometimes you think, no, they go off the land.
I think when I went to high school, the agriculture was more prominent in our valley. There were a lot more small-scale farms and ranches, very similar in size and scale to what our family's operation is today. And just unfortunately, just the economics of farming and ranching has pulled people away from the land. Mm-hmm. It was a hard life, and I think even my teenage daughters, before they left to college, I mean they realized a lot of just how much of a struggle ranching and farming is in today's world. And so for me to be able to come back to the valley that I was raised in and truly be part of again what was left to us from our ancestors and legacy of resiliency, sticking it out, learning to live through an extended droughts and challenges that Mother Nature presents to us, I think is truly rewarding and it's fulfilling. And I think the coolest part is just being able to still have my dad around to be able to see not only me but also see his grandkids embrace the opportunity.
When you learned a lot growing up on the land, correct? I mean, you knew what you were doing. Your dad, your grandfather knew what they were doing. What types of things did you learn in college? Your lower, at New Mexico State University and then North Dakota and Fargo to get your PhD. Did you say, I already know that. I've got my hands in the dirt. I don't need the books, but you did use the books.
Growing up grew up in a traditional household and family where, again, when you're young, you don't talk much, you listen and you watch. And so again, there was a lot of listening and watching from my father, from my grandfather, from my uncles, and again, you begin to embrace a lot of that. But when I got to college, again, just the opportunities to just see the creativity that comes out of a land-grant institution like New Mexico State University. Again, you have a lot of my professors at that time. They came directly from agriculture, so they were from the land. I could relate to their discipline. I could relate to their work ethic, and their love for animals and to make animals thrive in the desert environment. And so,
So they were able to teach you things you did
Oh,
not
yeah.
know after 5 generations.
you bet. I think we brought a lot of amazing techniques back to the ranch that has been truly instrumental in shaping who we are today, and not just improving again the quality of our animals, but our ability of our animals to thrive in the desert environment and be reproductively sound and produce good high quality meat. So I owe a lot to my professors in New Mexico State. And when we went to North Dakota State, I think, again, I was looking for a PhD program that could basically almost replicate what I experienced at New Mexico State, but in a different production environment. And so again, all the way almost to the Canadian border, went up there, again, the same amazing type of agriculturally based people that again inspired me to continue to think creatively as we think about how to utilize types of feeds that were basically byproducts from other milling processes that were currently going on in that part of the United States.
That you brought here
And
then.
so then, again, we're on the front end of that in North Dakota. And so as a lot of those products coming out of the ethanol industry made its way to the southern plains by rail car, I was already trained because we did a lot of the initial research to figure out how we could feed livestock, specifically cattle, those types of feeds. And so then we try to match those types of feeds up with our systems down here in New Mexico. And it was truly amazing how it all kind of fit right in like a hand goes into a glove. And so I've been truly blessed with my path. And again, I always owe it a lot again to my family, my ancestors, and the mentors who just gave me opportunities to continue seeking out new ways to keep people on the land.
And now all this knowledge, all this history, all this school learning has brought to the Santa Fe Farmers Market Institute. What is your mission there? What are you bringing to the Institute, Manny Encinas?
Well, the Santa Fe Farmers Market Institute is truly a remarkable organization. I started learning more about the Santa Fe Farmers Market Institute when I was a beef vendor at the Santa Fe Farmers Market. And throughout the normal market, which is every Saturday, 52 weeks out of the year, there were these staff members that were going about talking to farmers and ranchers and talking to them about programs that were available to them and assistance and mentorships. And I says, who are these staff people and who is this organization and how are they functioning? And little did I know that there was this nonprofit partner of the Santa Fe Farmers Market called the Santa Fe Farmers Market Institute. The Santa Fe Farmers Market Institute began back in 2002 when the vendors or the farmers of the Santa Fe Farmers Market were looking to develop a permanent location to hold a farmers market. To that point, the farmers of the Santa Fe Farmers Market Association were basically going from empty parking lot to empty parking lot. Mm-hmm. It was hard for customers to follow the farmers, and then all of a sudden the opportunity came up in the rail yards to help bring this truly amazing vision of a permanent year-round facility to the rail yards for farmers to have this venue.
But all these independent stall people who had rented the stalls weren't really organized to be able to create their own building. That's why they needed the Institute.
Yeah, and so the Institute, again, with a lot of community partners, helped basically raise the funds to build this amazing building. It's almost a 10,000 square foot building in the heart of the rail yards in Santa Fe. It attracts 6,000 visitors every Saturday to the farmers market specifically. But the Institute was more than just the building. The Institute itself, its mission is focused on keeping farmers and ranchers in northern New Mexico on the land. And that's truly just right down my alley. Again, seeing how many farmers and ranchers, again, in my career that have come and gone.
You have seen them come and go?
We've seen a lot of farmers and ranchers, come off the land again because it's not an economically viable business. And the next generation doesn't want to just inherit a bunch of debt. It was easier to sell the land off. And so
you saw that during your generation?
During our generation. We continue to see that.
Because when you were a meat vendor, were you in high school then? Or
no, we just started during COVID.
Okay, but as a meat vendor, your family?
Oh yeah, we've been selling meat for several years in a different way. Today we're more retail.
Okay, when you went to the farmer's market?
Yeah, we went to the farmer's market, we became very retail oriented.
Okay, but you knew as a younger person, people leaving.
We saw the people leaving, and I felt like that was always disheartening, and like I always felt like I felt bad for the hard work that was put in by ancestors generation after generation, because that was the investment that they made, right? And for us at the Santa Fe Farmers Market Institute, what we're trying to do is to keep these small farms and ranches that are along the major waterways of New Mexico, being the Rio Grande and the Rio Chama, keeping it in production. To me, that's some of the most precious natural resources that we do have are those irrigated waterways, and they're small acreage farms, but they're highly productive, and they're productive enough to keep food coming to the Santa Fe Farmers Market almost every single week out of the year.
So what can you do as an institute to encourage them to stay?
So at the Santa Fe Farmers Market Institute, what we try to focus on are programs that, again, make these small agricultural enterprises, again, financially viable. So that's talking about how do we control our input costs and try to receive the most we can for the product that is grown. And so
those are the two main factors.
That's the main thing. So we're trying to make sound business people out of farmers and ranchers.
Okay.
By also implementing new and advanced techniques. As we know, in New Mexico, and especially in a year like this year where we don't have a lot of snowpack, that water is going to become the most precious resource, just like it is every day, but even more so when you're trying to grow food for a consumer who there's a high demand. And so what we're really trying to do is really focus in on trying to work on programs that improve soil health. So when you improve soil health, it makes the soil more like a sponge.
Yeah.
And so you're able to retain more of the water that's actually going onto the land.
And you're teaching them things they hadn't known before.
You bet. And so I think that, trying to improve soil health is very important, but we're also trying to get our farmers and ranchers that are involved with the Santa Fe Farmers Market to learn how to explore new market avenues. So to not just think about just the farmers market as a way to sell your product, but to be more exploratory. And one of the ways that we're doing at the Santa Fe Farmers Market Institute is by implementing what we call the Tianguis mobile market, where we're actually taking the fresh local food that was produced by farmers and ranchers at the Santa Fe Farmers Market into food deserts across Santa Fe and northern New Mexico.
So it's kind of like mini markets.
It's like a mini market.
Like a mini market.
So we're taking the food to people that don't have access to the food and giving them access to the freshest and most locally produced and the local produced food that's...
Is it something that you created?
It was a vision, and right, it was a vision after having visited with a lot of promotoras in the local communities to better understand that people want to eat better food, but they just have a hard time getting to the food.
That's true.
Right, so we said instead of them making them come to a brick and mortar building, let's take the fruits of the brick and mortar building out to the community and make it more accessible. And so we have an active, educational program where we're out there trying to find new locations to take our new mobile market. And again, it's one thing to have the vision. It's really important for us to be able to secure the funding. We were blessed to have key partners like United Way of North Central New Mexico who believed in the idea and the need for the community to have access to fresh locally produced food. And so we're indebted to our partners. And it's just like Bienvenidos, we're all part of this collaborative of organizations that are working together to address a real issue throughout New Mexico. Even if you live in the city, there's a lot of food insecurity.
So Manny, have you begun this mobile market?
We launched the Tianguis mobile market last August. And between August and December, we hit 40 different locations just in Santa Fe proper. And so that was kind of our pilot phase. And so in 2025, we are going and we're doing 3 to 5 markets a week throughout Santa Fe, and just trying to find those areas where people are wanting to access food, fresh food grown locally. And again, it chimes right into our mission at the Institute to keep people on the land, to make food more easily accessible to people in northern New Mexico.
Open more markets for
them. And it builds economy, and it builds an amazing amount of social integrity in what we're doing across the landscape, respecting not only the farmers and ranchers who consume it, but those consumers who are actively looking for fresh, locally produced
food. So the
food.
farmers market itself is open Saturday. Every Saturday is 52 weeks a year, but Tuesdays as well, or is that?
So Tuesdays will start up at the first Tuesday in May.
In May through
November.
Okay, Tuesdays. And Saturdays are the main days.
Yes.
So now your mobile markets are when?
So our mobile markets are on non-market days.
Okay.
Right. So we're doing the Santa Fe Farmers Market has a Tuesday market in the rail yards Tuesday mornings from 8 to 1. And then they have an evening market with Presbyterian off of Cerrillos It is from 3 to 6 on Tuesday afternoons. And then the rail yard market is Saturdays from 8 to 1. And so then the mobile markets, what we try to do is strategically identify locations throughout Santa Fe where we can take the market once or twice per day out on those non-market days to continue to give people, again, the access that they want.
And are you thinking of this year, 2025, which we're in, are you going to mainly be doing it throughout Santa Fe or throughout some other communities?
Well, I think initially we want to stay focused on dialing in our model within the Santa Fe area, just to kind of make what we're trying to do is to try to build a model that can be replicated by other communities. I think that's another thing that we always try to do is we try to be innovative in ways and give people the game plan on building these similar types of successful models for food distribution.
It's kind of taken off on the food trucks a little bit, right?
But it's a great way, right? Because
the food trucks, you say, oh wow, it's right there in the corner. Well, and farmers market in Santa Fe, I used to love to go, but Saturdays I had obligations and I couldn't go. And if I get there at 1, it's like, oh, everything's gone.
Yes.
But now there's an idea for those who are committed on Saturdays for other things. They can go find it throughout the week. And how do they find where the mobile markets will be?
You can go to farmersmarketinstitute.org. That's the Institute's website there. And you can always follow us on social media. We're on Instagram and Facebook as well. I mean, there's a lot of people there, but we keep things updated. And then you can also sign up we have a texting service. So we have a texting service whenever you go to one of these mobile markets where you can sign up and you can receive a text on where we'll be and at what time we'll be there.
That's too cool.
And I think on top of that, just lastly, I mean, in addition to just providing people with access to fresh and local food, our program director, David Sundberg, he's also a former chef. And so he's also working on trying to come up with recipes so that people can take home from the mobile market to know how to better utilize and prepare these foods in a way that not only them but their family will enjoy.
What are the farmers and ranchers saying about this and about the Institute? And you said you had some good stories about a lot of women farmers in northern New Mexico.
Well, you know, we have a great support system. There's over 100 farmers at the farmers market. And, you know, we continue to try to provide services that meet their needs. And I feel like for the Tianguis mobile market, I think it's, again, a great opportunity for farmers to produce the food, but not necessarily have to invest the time in going to sell the food and giving somebody else that opportunity. So it keeps them on the land and keeps them farming and letting their produce being sold, you know, through somebody who can maybe more closely relate with how to utilize the food. So that to me.
So the farmers don't necessarily, on Saturdays they're there?
At the markets, Santa Fe farmers markets, they are the vendors. But with the Tianguis, the unique part about it is that we take farmers' food out to the community. So it saves up a lot of time. And on the farm and on the ranch, you know, labor's always in short supply. It's typically on these small and mid-sized scale farms and ranches, it's usually all family, right? You really can't afford to have too much outside labor. So this is a unique concept that just allows farmers to do more of what they love, and that's in nurturing the land, the plants, and the animals that they're responsible for. So it's truly amazing. I mean,
are they saying they're staying on? They're able to stay on because you've opened up some other markets. The information you've brought to them, are they saying, you know what, we'll give it another year?
Well, I think, you know, when you sell directly into a local food system, you're more secure than selling into a commodity-based system, right? So most farms and ranchers historically have sold into. They produce a product and then they sell into a commodity market. They don't know what the price is that they're going to receive on the end. Whereas when you sell into a direct-to-consumer market, you set the price because you know the cost of your production, and so you're able to make a modest income. Where on a commodity-based market, it's uncertainty if you'll even make any money. So I think, you know, for farmers and ranchers, we continue to sharpen the pencil around different edges and aspects of their business to keep them viable.
Okay, and what do we grow in northern New Mexico?
You know, obviously, you know, you have your red and your green chili.
Okay.
You know, some of the better, you know, red chili in New Mexico is grown in some of the most amazing places of New Mexico. Obviously, the Chimayo red is truly amazing. But at this time of year, there's so many greens. Last week at the market, there was so much fresh lettuce, kale, spinach, so amazing. This time of the year, obviously the tomatoes will be coming on soon, and we're big on obviously our green chili, and I would also say again just all of these unique vegetables that many people aren't familiar with, and I feel like that's the role of the Institute as well, is to educate people on how to use a lot of these highly nutritious
like what?
fruits and vegetables. you're going to catch me off guard there. I'm not going to know a lot of them, but I know that we're trying to find the types of nutritious food that grows in our desert landscape.
That's tough, right?
And so you have the innovation of farmers trying to better utilize the natural resources that we have by still producing food that is important for us nutritionally here as consumers.
Very good. We have 30 seconds left. What would you like to share that I haven't touched upon?
I feel like the work that we're doing at the Santa Fe Farmers Market Institute, again, is to nurture the next generation of farmers and ranchers. I'm blessed to be able to do that with my family, and I'm hoping that the works and the programs at the Santa Fe Farmers Market Institute will give us that opportunity to help more families that are traditional farmers and ranchers stay on the land, and also nurture the next generation of farmers and ranchers to not be afraid of being involved in agriculture, whether it's growing food in your windowsill in your backyard or on acreage that you lease or can acquire for your family.
We can do it on our windowsills as
You
a
bet.
start, correct?
It's all in our DNA, you bet.
And we need it, of course,
Yes.
Manny and Senius, right?
Yes,
we
ma'am.
need it. We can't count on someone else always to provide it. Sometimes
bet.
we have to do it. So a windowsill is a good place to start.
Yes.
Thank you for
Thank
sharing
you so
your
much.
story.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate you and all that you're doing for our community, and it makes you want to just get out there and get up there to northern New Mexico, especially to the Santa Fe market, and to be taxed. Oh, great, to find out where they are next. Thanks for watching the program. I had Manny Insenius, 5th generation rancher here in New Mexico. He's proud of that. Thanks for watching. I'm Diane Kinderwater. Make it a great week with your family. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Issues and Answers with your host Diane Kinderwater is presented as a public service to inform, educate, and better the lives of New Mexicans. To comment on today's program, email us at info@kchftv.org or call us at 505-345-1991. Join us again for Issues and Answers with Diane Kinderwater.